Why are all these hipster vegans tripping out on psychedelics? Well, obviously because there's nothing vegan to eat these days except marijuana, shrooms, and ayahuasca.
Duh.
But better yet, why are all these psychedelic trips turning people vegan? There's quite a few people that have gone vegan from these trips, so it's an intriguing subject to say the least. Oh, and shout out to Gwen for requesting this topic on Patreon. Let's go, Gwen! Now, take another hit because we are going deep. Before we jump into veganism, let's just be on the same page on what exactly psychedelics are. Psychedelics are not your ordinary drugs because they are not addictive, nor can they kill you. In fact, they do the complete opposite. Psychedelics such as ayahuasca, DMT, and psilocybin mushrooms have the potential to treat depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, addiction, and many other types of mental health issues. These psychedelics can literally open up your senses and deepen your connections in your brain, allowing for higher states of consciousness and introspection. I am in no way condoning or saying that you should be taking psychedelics. So if someone asks you, do you want psychedelics? You say, no, I do not want psychedelics because they are illegal. Ayahuasca contains a molecule called DMT, which is very similar in molecular chemistry as psilocybin. Why is DMT such a big deal? First of all organisms have the ability to synthesize it or have it in their systems, including plants. But the craziest thing is what happens when we die. As we all do. When your heartbeat stops, when your breathing stops, when your blood flow stops, and you have this completely motionless body, Dr. Rick Strassman claims that your pineal gland miraculously floods DMT into your brain just moments after you are deceased. Why is this mysterious psychedelic being produced and released into you? And why after you are dead? DMT could very well be associated with what is lurking in the afterlife and probably deserves to be studied more because here is what we know so far. Studies show that psychedelics increase the neurons of our prefrontal cortex brain, which is phenomenal because neurons are the only cells in your body which are very, very difficult to reproduce once they die. So psychedelics are a tool to work on the evolution of our intelligence. In fact, mycologist Paul Stamets believes psilocybin mushrooms may be the reason for our increased brain sizes in our human evolution. He states psilocybin substitutes serotonin. It becomes a better neurotransmitter. It causes new neurons to form and new pathways of knowledge. So it is literally aiding your conscious awareness, and a common denominator amongst people who have tripped on psychedelics is the feelings of the self disappearing, melting away, and in turn becoming the entirety of existence. Your ego is obviously necessary to navigate yourself, but when the psychedelic melts it away, it helps you transcend the domain of your 5 physical senses and extend yourself into the environment and the organisms within the environment. So the big question that arises from all of this is, why haven't you liked this video yet? Oh, and of course, what type of existential knowledge does transcending your ego bring to you? Number 1 is increased empathy for living beings. This hyper-awareness beyond your sense of self allows you to vicariously experience the living organisms within the environment, not as others, but as other selves as you. So these trips are most effective in nature because you are in the presence of these other selves of you. Now you might be able to guess how this leads into the ethics of veganism. Meat is not necessary for survival. It's not consumed for survival anymore. It is consumed for desire. So needlessly eating the murdered corpse of animals is especially damaging to you as a network that is connected to all of these animals. Psychedelics and even some forms of meditation can help individuals become much more aware of the foods that they're eating and how these foods are affecting both their mental and physical health in the long term. Some people argue that meat and dairy is necessary for our survival, but it has been falsified many times over. A balanced plant-based diet is way healthier for you and the animals than a balanced meat-eating diet. So it's not surprising that veganism is a common conclusion for these psychedelic epiphanies. The second type of knowledge is increased empathy for the environment. Just like you may extend your awareness as being part of the organisms, you may extend it as being part of the environment that these organisms live in, as if it were your collective sacred home. And we know from the countless research that you cannot be an ecological activist and not be vegan.
Why?
Because 75% of deforestation is caused by animal agriculture, and similarly 75% of all infectious diseases come from the consumption of animals. So especially in times like this, the coronavirus era, do drugs, not hugs. Unless you have a mask on when you're hugging, just kidding. But back to deforestation. Why is it such a big deal? Well, it causes a host of problems for the planet that you and I are living in. It leads to global warming, flooding, a decrease of biodiversity, extinctions of our distant animal cousins, fewer crops, and desertification. It's literally turning our habitable planet inhabitable. Now, unless you can afford a ticket to Mars with Elon Musk, it's probably in your best interest to protect this planet before it turns into a nightmare. So basically, psychedelics aren't necessary to come to these revelations, but they are a tool to extend your awareness and really just nudge you in the direction of oneness with the organisms and the environment that these organisms live in. Veganism just so happens to be a highlight in both of these ways of experiencing oneness with the universe. So that's really what links psychedelic experiences and veganism together. Anyways, that is all I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed that talk, and shout out to Gwen for choosing this intriguing topic once again. And remember, if you would like to select your own Arjuneus talk topic, be sure to check me out on Patreon, because that is the only place you can do it. Peace begins on your dinner plate.